Hi everybody, I want to share something with you. One of the best investments that I've ever made in myself was begging my mother for funds to join a public speaking class that I'd seen advertised. I was 17, I remember it because my birthday is September and it was that year right after high school, so I was in that summer period right after high school, and I saw them advertise public speaking training. Not in my city. I had to drive maybe an hour and a half to the capital city of Jamaica, Kingston, to attend this. I didn't know anybody in Kingston. I literally had to stay with one of my mother's friends. That's how desperate I was to get into this program, to train my voice. It was called Voice and Speech for Radio, Television, and the Platform. And it was being trained. The coach was an elderly British gentleman called Wycliffe Bennett. I always remember Wycliffe Bennett because when I went into the room, he was auditioning. He didn't just take anybody. You had to audition. And I remember when I went into the room to do my audition, he said a few things to me, but I remember something that he did which stayed with me. He sent me out of the room a few times. He said, go back out, come back in. And I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong. I was very confused. And I remember coming back in at one point, looking so bewildered. And he said, young Hume, that's what he said, young Hume, you are apologizing for your presence. Go back out, come back in. And this time, occupy space. I don't know if I fully understood what he meant, but I knew at the time it had to do with my body language. It had to do with how I was, my stance, my posture. The ownership of my body wasn't there. It wasn't exuding confidence. It didn't suggest that I belonged in that room. I wasn't owning the room. And I always remember that because presence have a lot to do with your perception, the audience's perception of you as a speaker. No matter how great your speech is, no matter how well you can recite it, because they trained us to use our voice in a certain way. But I remember that part of it was being able to show up as yourself and fully yourself and occupying space. And that is that kind of presence that I try to teach. But I go one step further. For me, presence is not just posture. It's not just a stance. It's internal. It's something that builds out your credibility, so it has to be anchored in your personal brand, who you are, what you bring to the table. And when you speak, that personal brand shows up. And that is why my public speaking training is different from so many other training programs out there, because I work from the inside out, because I think that's where confidence comes from, and that's where credibility comes from. The presence that you need to speak as an authority, as someone who can be trusted, as someone who can be heard, as someone who can connect with an audience. It has to come from the inside. And so we work on your unique speaking style. You come as yourself. Come as yourself. You don't want to be anybody else. You don't want to be speaking like anyone else. You're showing up as yourself. And then we're going to work on your messaging. Come with a message. What is your message? Developing that message, making sure that it is in a clear way, and telling that story in a way that is impactful, and then mastering your delivery. And this again is anchored in your personal brand. Anything that I've accomplished in my life so far, I know central to that achievement is my ability to articulate my ideas, my ability to show up in a room and have presence. In fact, presence is the word that people use to describe me the most. I'm amazed at how many people use the word presence to describe me. And I am so grateful to Miss Betty Tucker for having that. She didn't say no. She didn't say don't do it. She didn't say, oh, I don't have the money. She didn't. But I'm always grateful for her for taking that chance. And I can't think of anything better that I have done in my whole life than getting that, owning my voice as a pathway to owning my value. And that's what I want to do for you, help you to own your voice and own